Welcome, welcome. Today we are taking a look at warehouse transfers. This important piece of functionality is critical to maintain the integrity of your inventory across multiple locations. Maybe you have several different areas where you store goods, or maybe you want to inventory goods on your van or service vehicle. Each area where goods are kept independently is considered a warehouse in RB. So the transfer functionality is a paramount and important piece to your inventory puzzle. Let's take a look at how warehouse transfers work inside RB.
Our journey today begins on the Inventory tab, as you might have guessed, and we're going to open up the Warehouse Transfers option. When this screen opens up, you're going to be presented with a screen that looks very familiar if you do any part of the purchase order or receiving process. Why? Well, because we're kind of creating an internal purchase order and receiving process for these warehouse transfers. It is a tabbed interface, and you'll be able to see everything that is open and being currently worked on, waiting to process, waiting to receive, as well as a history of any completed transfers that you have done previously. Also included are preset lists. These are something that we're only going to talk about briefly today, but if you're interested, you should check them out in our customer portal. Just go to the help documentation and search for preset list. If you often transfer the same goods all the time between warehouses, and particularly this is useful for trucks, if every morning the same goods go on a van, the preset list can save you a lot of time because you'll be able to import that list at the click of a button instead of manually typing out the parts that are transferred. So it's incredibly useful when the same stuff is there. Likewise, you can still pull from wish lists that exist in your system in the same manner. But today, we are working from square one. So we're going to go into the Open Transfers tab, and we are going to create a new transfer by clicking Add New Transfer. Just like your purchase order, you are going to be required to put in a subject. So I'm going to say Van Transfer. And since this is something that maybe my store does every day, I am going to note in the subject line the date, just for my reference for when I print it. We're requesting it from my one warehouse, and it's delivering to Edgar's truck. Edgar is my technician. Once I've filled out this top section, it is as simple as putting in the part numbers that we want to transfer. I put in the part number for the shock. I say, how many items am I putting on there? I'm giving him 25 pounds, 25 packets. And I begin to build out this transfer list. What else might I need? I might need some pH up. I'm going to put 10 units of pH up on his truck. And just for fun, I'm going to put some clear balance tablets on his truck as well. Obviously, your list is going to be more refined and not just out of your head. You're going to know exactly what's going on. I do want to point out that if you scan the barcode for barcoded items while your cursor is in the part number box down here, you have the ability for that number to auto-populate. Likewise, just like on a sales order or a cash register sale, if you're not sure of a part number, you can quickly and easily access the inventory items screen, narrow it down by one of the filters, and then click and apply said part number to your list. So I'm going to apply this defoamer to the list. I only put in a quantity of 1 because that's all I need today. When everything is said and done, we are going to save and quit, and you will see that that list is now built out in Open Transfers. Nothing has happened. We've set the table. We told RB that these are the items that we're looking to transfer. We can still modify it, print it, and make changes if we need to. Just like a purchase order, nothing is done until you send the transfer. There's also a button down here that says Complete Transfer. This is a quick and easy, all-done solution for you that you must use with caution. If I were to click the Complete Transfer button, it will eliminate all of the steps that you are going to see in the remainder of this video. So if I'm literally doing this at the point where I'm loading the van, and it's not necessarily a store-to-store transfer, or I am the person responsible for the integrity of this transfer, so I know that I am sending goods out, and I am ultimately the person that's responsible for receiving them, I can hit Complete Transfer, and this process will finish by moving the goods from warehouse A to warehouse B. For today's purposes, I'm going to send the transfer because we need to see all of the steps. That Complete Transfer button, it's very tempting to want to use it, but you only can use it in situations that are correct. If you just push the button to get it done, there's no integrity in the process, particularly if multiple hands are touching the goods that are being transferred. So in our example today, I have sent the transfer that removes the goods from my main warehouse, but it doesn't put them in the new warehouse just quite yet. You can see that it is waiting here to be effectively approved by whomever would be responsible for making sure that this transfer actually happens. I'm going to then double check it. You can see I can print various forms related to this specific transfer. If I want to just quickly look at a summary for it, I'm able to do that and say, yep, okay, there are 61 pieces, count out my pieces, I'm good to go. There's other items here that could be useful depending on the size of your warehouse infrastructure, including delivery and picking tickets. But now I'm ready to process this transfer. Everything looks good. I'm going to verify that everything looks correct, that the quantities are correct, and just like when we bring goods in, we are making sure that the right number of goods are going out. So I can either line by line verify that I am sending these 25 items, or if my quantities are correct across the board, I can just say quantity is correct and close out everything. So I'm going to select all, quantity correct, and you can see now all of my items are green. Green for go, green as in go out of my warehouse. So once I've processed this transfer, I can then send it to receiving, which means that they are out of my hands, out of my warehouse. They are waiting to be received by the other branch, the other location that is getting this transfer. Let's go across town to the other location. At the other location, whoever's responsible for receiving goods is going to receive this transfer. And just like the sending process, we're verifying our quantities so that there is integrity behind this process. Count my pieces. I have 61. I can either do it quickly, say, yep, it's all here, or go through line by line if there are issues. You'll notice that there are different statuses. By default, it's waiting to receive. But let's say something doesn't quite look right. Maybe this item got split between two shipments. Somehow, somewhere, someone made a mistake. I am going to receive 20 of those items, and the other 5 are still going to be outstanding. Likewise, we can account for different scenarios that can happen during shipping. Let's say I received 20, but 5 of those items were damaged. I'm going to account for them right there. When I'm done, I simply click Complete Transfer and move on to the next step. Now you'll notice I picked some damaged goods, and the damaged items automatically go to the RGO holding bin, so that whoever takes care of my returned goods can determine, are we scrapping these, or is this something that we can deal with elsewhere? Maybe it can be repaired and put back on the sales floor. Maybe for some reason it needs to be sent back to a vendor. Those decisions can all be made through the RGO process. Again, if you're not familiar with the RGO process, check it out on the customer portal. Step by step, detailed instructions, including screenshots, videos, and annotated photographs are there for you. Last but not least, my transfer now has been done. That fulfillment of that process is what moves the quantity into the other warehouse. So it is very, very much like the purchase order and receiving process. It's just an internal version of that process. Now you'll remember on the front end of that transfer, I showed you that quick and easy button. Let me set up another quick transfer. Let's say I am a one-man band today. I have to pick the good out of this warehouse and get it onto my truck, or pick the good out of this warehouse and take it to another store. If I am certain that I am the only one that is touching this order, when I set up that transfer, the complete transfer button that we talked about before that skips the steps makes it one and done. Here it goes. RB is going to warn you, are you sure you want to complete the transfer? This is going to eliminate sending it out of my warehouse and receiving it into the other warehouse. I'm literally leaving this warehouse and dropping it off at the next warehouse personally. I'm going to say, yes, I'm sure I want to complete that transfer. And just like that, those other steps are eliminated. Be cautious. Don't be tempted to use this if your process doesn't allow it. If you need multiple touches or multiple individuals to be responsible for the fidelity of your inventory, don't fall victim to thinking this is saving you a ton of time. You saw the first transfer. With me explaining it to you, it was only a couple of minutes. Once you get this down, it's an insignificant amount of time to actually go through the full process if that's what your store needs and requires, versus just pushing the button. Because quite frankly, if we're just pushing the button, that's all on the person that pushes the button. And if there's something wrong, questions can be asked and fingers can be pointed. So if you have a distinct process that requires multiple hands to touch it, follow the process. Even though that seems so easy, easy only applies when it can be used in a situation. And that is very situational. That is it for our deeper skills look at warehouse transfers. I hope this was a good refresher for you, or if this was your first jump into getting goods from one place to another and having RB reflect that change, now you know how to put it into practice. Very similar to your purchase order process, which we know you've been doing since day one. So use this, keep your inventory in tip-top shape, and I'll talk to you next time.